Welcome everyone to the one and only XLNC Light Testing Grounds. This is week 2. BARA Academy versus God Squad is only one of our many games that are currently being set up as we have nearly 14 teams playing in tonight's event. That is absolute madness, but as XLNC has recently gotten a massive upgrade, here we are going right into our analyst desk, myself as well as Diatropa. Welcome, Diatropa. Today on your stream, if you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out twitch.tv/Diatropa. It is fantastic. You are breaking down all the teams and doing some massive analysis. So tell me, what are your thoughts on these teams?
So I spent most of my time today going over draft. Again, like as we continue to run these weekly events, we'll get an even greater idea of what these teams can individually do. I remember last week we did get the privilege of seeing BARA Academy play, and I really liked, I'm a big draft guy, so it was most of what we were talking about, but I really liked the way that they maneuvered in draft to find a comp against Glacial Galaxy, who's also playing this week. That put them in a really tight spot. So I'd be looking for them to have a really specific game plan going into this as well. We saw their coach in the chat today, and I'm really excited to see what kind of strats they're able to pull out. I do expect them to be playing with a neutralizing mid and through either top or bot lane. Hoping it's top, fingers crossed, because I'd really like to see that, especially from Empower, who we saw go off earlier in the tournament. Or earlier in last week's event. And then, I mean, God Squad, I looked at their champion pools and they just have so much flexibility that we're going to have to see which way they choose to go. I think maybe the threat for them is just too many people doing too many great things, you know?
Yeah, so the spicy thing with God Squad is that while the name is very familiar if you have been around XLNC for a long time, these are new teams that often get formed. They come and they go. They play and they leave. They aren't necessarily the most consistent teams. What that means is that they can bring a lot of spiciness to the table. Now, I know that we got Pro Draft actually starting here in just a moment, so we're going to try to wrap up super quickly because we're hoping to have another minute here. But I wanted to say very quickly, and then we'll jump into Pro Draft, is Diatropa, a lot of teams are prioritizing picking their bottom side first because I want to hear your thoughts as to why, and then focusing on mid and top side. So usually the first part of the draft is bottom, both champions and the jungle, and then second half of the draft is mid and top. Is that, in your opinion, because bottom side is so strong you have to first pick it, or is it because the top and mid are so heavily played around in most games that that's why you try to counter pick it later?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the snowballing effect of bot lane that, like by not drafting a strong lane, especially since you have such a limited viable carry pool, by not drafting a strong lane, you can put yourself way behind where you at least need to have some autonomy that bot lane can provide you to take those structures going into the mid game and open up the map for you.
All right, well, we'll see if that's the case in this game as we got some spicy bans. Thank you, Diatropa. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have a whole lot of time to talk, but we should have more time between Game 1 and Game 2, exactly. We'll see you back in a minute as Arza Kelly going to come in now and join us as the actual play-by-play caster tonight. I know a lot of people are used to the Jake hype, but we're going to have Arza Kelly fill in that role, and I'll be trying my best on the color side of things as we're deep into Pro Draft already. Zach Aphelios and Soraka taken away by BARA Esports. Caitlin, Leeson, and Blitzcrank taken away by God Squad. And it's amazing. This guy's absolutely mad. I was even calling him out today on his stream. Diatropa was saying that Ashe could definitely be considered a top tier pick in these teams. And what are we seeing first picked? It's BARA Esports grabbing the Ashe, counter picked by Ezreal from God Squad.
Yep, and something really interesting to me is the Soraka ban from BARA Esports. That one feels, I don't know, it feels a little bit targeted, but I'm not really seeing anything in our notes that would suggest that. I can't really see why they would want to ban Soraka. She's not really in the meta at this point.
Okay, so some of those picks are, there's twofold. This is what Diatropa was going into, was that one of the big things was that when you take away those kind of healing and passive supports, those are the ones that more often than not heavily empower these safer champion picks like an Ezra. And you can even see with that Yuumi coming out that that's kind of the same concept, is that protect the ADC, if you will, when you have those healing supports coming out. And so I know there was a little bit of discussion in Diatropa's Twitch chat today about whether or not that was going to be something that it was Soraka or Yuumi that was focused. In this particular case, they said they were more concerned about the Soraka than that Yuumi. Letting the Yuumi through, there's a pro and a con to it. The good pro is that if you kill the Ezreal, it's a 2-for-1 combo. You get the Yuumi as well. But the con is that it can be so difficult to actually kill that Ezreal, and Yuumi can often empower other champions to be even stronger, like now this Trundle coming through for God Squad, because he's going to be in your face, and when Yuumi is using that final chapter, you cannot escape.
Yep. And what I'd love to see from God Squad coming up here, they still haven't picked their mid lane. I think a Karma mid lane here would be a really good idea, because then you have Karma empowering Trundle to go as fast as he can. You've got Yuumi attaching to Trundle for the heals. Yeah, the mid lane for Karma can be a little bit weird. Maybe lose mid lane a little early, but that team fight potential coming in, just empowering Trundle to go in and destroy, I think has a lot of great potential there.
Yep. Silas and Volaberry being knocked out by God Squad, pinching some of the mid and top lane and really shutting down any sort of glacial composition that BARA Esports might have been looking at with this Sejuani and Ashe. They have already grabbed massive frontliners, massive CC. This is something that BARA Esports played around last week as well. They love to be able to play with a ton of crowd control, locking down opponents, making it very difficult for them to escape. And when you think about slippery champions like Ezreal and Yuumi, all it takes is one of those CCs to hit. The rest will follow. That champion will be dead. Syndra and Ornn taken off the table by our Esports. So we are into the final picks. It's hovered Maokai and locked in for the top lane of God Squad.
Maokai is a really interesting pick to me. I'm assuming he's going to be in the top lane. So I believe I've seen a Maokai in the mid lane once or twice. It's not really his strongest suit. That's kind of interesting that they want to pick the top lane before the mid lane. Kind of signals to me they're a little worried they might get counterpicked there, so they're going to hold off on that one a little bit. Maokai's a pretty safe pick, blind in the top lane, but not against Gangplank. He was counterpicked pretty hard there.
Yeah, Gangplank I really like seeing a Gangplank, not only because of those explosive casts, they're just so cool when they're just popping around, exploding people's faces off, but he's also a great split pusher that doesn't necessarily have to join his team, especially once he has that Cannon Barrage ultimate. He can make kind of across the map plays without necessarily joining them. He scales super well as well. The one thing that they're kind of suffering on is a little bit of that team fight damage, and now they lock in that Orianna, so that is their kind of team fight condition, is they say, hey, if you try to group and fight us 5v4 because our Gangplank is split pushing in a side lane, we have an Orianna that's going to shockwave your entire team. Now, God Squad do want to play around their mid lane, it does appear, so we're going to see what they decide to counterpick there, as they have left that to the very last choice. What is going to counter this Orianna? They're hovering the Cassiopeia, something that was played last week as well. I don't believe it was by Binks. I'd actually have to double check my information on that. But yeah, Cassiopeia, a pretty decent play into the Orianna, mostly because of her ability to kind of quickly harass, and it's that shotgun spellbook effect, whereas most spellcasters are more kind of a one and done, dump damage and then back away.
Yeah, and Cassiopeia, we've been seeing a lot of her in pro play lately, but not in the mid lane. She's been played a lot as an AD carry in the bot lane. It's been pretty interesting to watch. I'm really excited to see Cassiopeia returning to the mid lane, where she's supposed to be, getting some of that real big, strong harass potential, getting to be more of a carry player here. Though I do expect Ezreal to be dealing out most of the damage for God Squad right behind Trundle. Cassiopeia is going to be very, very helpful in setting up those team fights a bit better.
All right, so we got some people that are disagreeing with me, at least, saying that the Orianna should be able to just knock Cassiopeia right out of that mid lane rink, as we are into the client picks and bans for this game number 1. Love hearing your analysis, though, in the Twitch chat. You guys, we can see that. Let us know what your thoughts are on the draft by the two teams. If you need the link, we can drop the pro draft link again for you guys to be able to check in. We also do have that Binks Binks links and make sure that if you are interested in following Binks, they release weekly highlight reels of their content and the different games and events that they play, and it's super, super cool. I love watching it, and they include some of XLNC stuff as well. So make sure that you subscribe to them onto that YouTube channel. So into the official picks and bans we go. What is standing out for you, Arza Kelly, right off the bat?
That mid lane that we were talking about seems like it's going to be where most of the action is. Because on the side of BARA Esports, you've got to make sure that Orianna is getting to level, getting items, getting the gold, and not getting killed. In fact, you might want to feed her a couple of kills, so we can expect a lot of play around that. On the other side, she's going to be able to harass Cassiopeia a lot with her orb. I can expect some counter ganks coming in from the side of God Squad as well, trying to keep Cassiopeia a little healthy. On the other hand, I would kind of expect them to be playing around the bot lane a little bit on the side of God Squad. To me, it kind of seems like they have not the stronger pick, but definitely a very good pick there. I want Ezreal to be able to scale up as fast as possible, so I'm going to be seeing a lot of mid get lane play, but also a little bit in the bot lane, to me.
Yeah, it's focusing into that bot lane, letting the Ezreal kind of scale up. I can see that, but I also can see the potential, hey, don't worry about them, let them be an island of their own. It's an incredibly safe lane. Not only does Ezreal have the arcane shift to get out of harm's way, but Yuumi can use the you and me to jump on top of him, protect herself as well. Your only big concern is if Ezreal gets truly hard crowd control locked by the Nautilus, finding a dredge line, or post 6, having that Ashe ultimate set up the Nautilus to then be able to find a dredge line and start those ultimate CC chains, if you will. But by that point, post 6 is when things should be kind of breaking apart on other areas of the map. I think, as you mentioned as well, mid lane's going to be a lot of action from these junglers. Top lane probably going to get a little bit visited if you're mostly either trying to, as the Trundle, stop the Gangplank from shoving Maokai under his own turret, or for Sejuani, actually shutting down that Maokai before he gets really a little bit more difficult for Gangplank to kind of chew through in his damage.
Yeah, and I will say there, if I'm Sejuani and Gangplank looking at Maokai, that kind of feels like an opportunity for a Sejuani to come in with a really well set up gank before level 6, get himself a nice kill, maybe 2 if he's feeling really greedy, but if you go for 2, I'm pretty sure Solheim is going to find that out and come up and try to stop you there. So maybe we could expect to see a top lane gank pretty early, but I'm expecting a whole lot of the play to be still around that mid lane, and I'm really expecting Cassiopeia to kind of get targeted a lot. It's going to feel a little bit like bullying, I think, when we go into the game.
Yep, I think there's a chance for both teams to really heavily bully the other team as well, and I know that we don't always want to encourage bullying and beating up on your opponents, but this is League of Legends, this is combative video gaming, and that's exactly what it is all about. So let's introduce the two teams taking to Summoner's Rift for our game number 1 of our broadcasted games tonight in the Lightweight Week 2. We have ourselves Power 13 with the Gangplank in the top lane. Slingshot, no Zac this time. It's the Sejuani playing in the jungle. Takes names on the Orianna in the mid lane. Basket of Knives with the Ashe with a whole bunch of arrows in her quiver. And Velthrin as that Nautilus support.
Yep, and on the side of the God Squad, we have World Champ, C9 World Champ, playing Maokai in the top lane. Solheim playing Trundle. Love the little synergy there between the name and Trundle. Zizovic playing Cassiopeia. Rapid Fire on Ezreal. He is going to look pretty rapid fire towards the end of the game. And Angelic Baby on Yuumi. A lot of name synergy between the champions here on the side of God Squad.
Yeah, well, maybe that name synergy can, track over into having actual champion and player synergy as well, because these games are not solo queue. These games aren't individuals trying to carry. If you want to be the best, you have to work with your team, and that's something that BARA Esports does incredibly well, is that they work together as a team, making plays and being willing to invest in fights together, rather than what you usually have one person getting caught out and the rest of the team trying to jump in and save them as well. So we'll see if they can pull that off again. They are the best contenders for winning it all tonight, because they did win last week as well after some really impressive games. But God Squad as an organization can always bring something spicy. I will note, I'm surprised C9 World Champ isn't playing something like the Set or the obviously Ornn, even though Ornn was banned away, so no shocker there, because those are two of his favorite champions. But by playing the Maokai, he's being a little bit more supportive and wanting to be that tanky frontline for his team to have something to respond to the Sejuani and Nautilus coming out from BARA Esports.
Yeah, and kind of Maokai is going to serve kind of the same purpose that I wanted that Karma to serve that I suggested earlier, which is empowering Trundle with Yuumi on his back to be able to rush in, deal a lot of damage. When the roots start coming down from Maokai in these teamfights, Trundle is going to be able to pick and choose who he wants to kill there if they set it up right. And I'm really excited to see that. On the other side, Cassiopeia with a Maokai root can put down so much poison damage, especially with the Twin Fangs. It'll look like a little Gatling gun of poison claws just racing at the other team.
Yep, and it's really one of those things that when you... Let's take a look just really quickly at those ultimates coming out from God Squad, because you're talking about those poison claws, which are huge, but we also saw a near Cassiopeia quadra kill last week on a different team. You pair that Petrify ultimate with Yuumi as well, and you've got the shotgun Twin Fangs coming out. You also have the shotgun Ezreal spells, Mystic Shot coming out. You have the Trundle just beating people down left, right, and center, and the Maokai and Yuumi's ultimates rooting people up together. That's going to be the concern for BARA Esports Academy when it comes to collecting as a tight-knit group. It actually is what punished them heavily in Game 3, the finals game of last week, in which they started off with nearly 1,000 gold deficit because they clumped early and Cassiopeia had level 6. So they probably will not fall into the same issue this week. They're going to have to be more aware of it. Then in the same vein as you clump up, Cassiopeia can petrify you all. If the God Squad themselves clump up, Orianna's Shockwave should hit them all as well. Which means, for me, contesting around Drakes is going to be absolutely crucial for both of these teams, because Drakes and Rift Heralds and Barons are where these teams are going to be clumping and where you're going to see most of those bigger fights occur.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward, and I think this is something we saw a lot last week with BARA. They were able to get pretty good Drake control and then force the fights they wanted around those objectives. I want to see more of that.
We'll see if that happens, if they can kind of get those grouping team fights together. So we already noted a little bit on the jungle between these two teams. You said you wanted to see the jungles going mid lane in the early game, trying to get them snowballing ahead, and using the fact that if you actually look at the mid laners, neither of them carry a massive amount of mobility. Cassiopeia doesn't even get boots. She's a snake. You lock her down, she can be very easy to kill. Orianna, actually, while she does have a bit of extra mobility, even got buffed, her E, so she has a little bit extra mobility when running around. It's still not that strong. No blinks, no jumps, no leaps, or any of those sorts of things. And that's why you can see that Orianna actually taking cleanse and respecting the amount of crowd control coming out from God Squad's lineup. Ezreal, he's got cleanse himself as well. I find that incredibly interesting, because that means that bottom lane, no ignite, an exhaust, and a cleanse, and one heal on that Yuumi. Very defensive summoner spells from God Squad's bottom lane.
It kind of feels like that bot lane is an island theory you had going, where Rapid Fire, Angelic, they're just kind of expecting not to get a whole lot of play. So I'm kind of expecting Solheim to be in that top side of the map, mid-top right there, a lot more of the time.
All right, well, we are jumping on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1. Huge shout-outs to all the support coming out in the Twitch chat. I've been trying to both shout it out and keep the commentary going. But Kurthus, thank you so much for the follow, as well as Armadeus123, Gavin reminding us to stay hydrated, Jedi for that follow, Alicia with the tier 1 gifted sub. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely massive. Poetic Lol, thank you so much for the follow. If you guys continue to follow, do not worry, I see you. I will try to get to the shoutouts as quick as I can. But we're on to Summoner's Rift for game number 1. We already have 5-man stacked invade from BARA Esports running straight into the jungle of God Squad, looking to take control over the game very early on and control this bottom side jungle. They've dropped a bunch of wards, but they seem to be backing away, not worrying about actually trying to grab any kills or the blue buff.
Yeah, just like you were talking about those follows, Velthrin thought that was a good idea. He led that charge towards Rapid Fire and Angelic. If he had managed to get a hook there, that could have been 2 very early kills, but instead they are just going to back off, happy with the vision, and get to their own buffs. Now, in this kind of early stage of the game, it tends to be a little quiet. So you know what I like to do? I like to look at the skins. We've got some nice skins today.
Oh yeah, we got that Nautilus, the astronaut Nautilus coming through. I love the Wild West Ash skin as well. Which ones are your favorites to look at?
Well, the Nautilus one is always going to be pretty close to my heart because it is in Teamfight right now. I love me some Teamfight, and I love me some Nautilus. Both of those together, really fun. I really like Trundles, though. Trundle on that nice slugger Trundle in the baseball suit. I've worked a lot of baseball games. It's my favorite sport, maybe, besides this. And I just really do love the aesthetic there. It works really well.
Let's see if he can knock out a home run in this game number 1. Hey, maybe even a double or a triple if we get to that point. Using some baseball terminology for those triple kills. But for now, it is slowly farming the jungle. Both of them are fairly tank-heavy champions, and so they're not exactly going to carry the most damage. Wait, Yumi hooked up.
Oh, wait, Veltrin's going to get an early hook onto Angelic here. So much damage coming down. Basket of Knives doing his best to try and get that early kill. Angelic is going to get ignited there by Veltrin, but he's able to get away through the power of his own heals. That was a really close one down in the bot lane.
Yep, very close. It's an Ignite for heal trade that if I was the side of BARA, I'd be okay with. It's not really that incredible. Mostly you're just trying to knock the heal off, so it makes it easier to kill them next time, and you're not so heavily reliant on that Ignite to actually find the kills. You're more reliant on those CC chains. Mid lane gank, though.
Yep, here's Slingshot. He's coming in like a slingshot all the way onto Vivovic. So much damage coming down. He's going to go down very quickly, but in the top lane, we've got Solheim. He is able to get himself onto base, taking down Empower. Gank for gank right there.
Yep, junglers visiting mid and top lane respectively, each one getting a kill, but BARA Esports are the ones who actually find the first blood, so a very small gold advantage to them, but really, it's incredibly small. And the interesting thing from both is, I'd say unfortunate if you look at the Sejuani picking up the kill if you're BARA, but the Trundle actually picked it up from God Squad as well, so it actually worked out great. I guess the Trundle having the kill is better than Maokai. Maokai, okay, you get tank stats, that's it, it's not that big of a deal, but I would much rather have had that kill onto the Orianna takes names rather than the Sejuani if I was BARA Esports.
Yeah, that kind of feels like maybe he wanted to do it, but Zizovic was able to slither away just a little bit too fast. He got a little panicky and he decided to take the kill. It's better than no kill, for sure, but yeah, you would have expected to try and see that onto takes names there. And I think actually he might be looking in the jungle there to try and repeat it. Slingshot looking at that mid lane very closely.
Yeah, Slingshot was actually inside the jungle of Solheim again, dropped a ward, trying to keep vision on where this Trundle is going. Might actually run into them after hitting that scrying plant. There you go, see Solheim just finishing up that Grump, chasing out the Sejuani. She is hit by that pillar. Sorry, I'm doing your job. Take over.
Nope, Solheim's going to come in on Slingshot. They're going to trade a couple blows, but I don't think that's actually going to come to too much. Solheim's going to back off before the bot lane can respond to that instead. Yeah, that was just a little bit of a skirmish in the jungle, just kind of showing that neither one really respects the other, and they're both willing to put some slaps down. But as soon as Solheim gets his 6, is able to just shred the armor from Sejuani, that's going to be a very different matchup. Speaking of matchups, in the bottom lane, Veltrin does get a nice hook on a rapid fire. It's going to cause a little bit of a ruckus here, but I don't think it's actually going to come to much, because Basket of Knives is just a little bit too low on mana for that engage. Can't really follow it up with enough damage.
Yeah, and the big thing is that, keep in mind, Basket of Knives is very, very low on mana, so maybe 1 or 2 spells are about it for this Ashe, which means that they're not exactly in a heavy damage dealing position. They're mostly trying to shove the wave, force a reset so they can actually back and get their first items. The Ashe personally sitting on 1,200 and a little bit gold. Also wanted to quickly note the gangplank of the top lane, respecting the fact that he got killed early on, has purchased a cull for himself, so we'll be stacking up that cull first and basically saying, hey, I know this is going to take me a while to hit my power points and hit my item spikes, so let me go ahead and buy a cull. That'll help me later on to the game.
Yeah, that's probably a good move from him. In that top lane, it doesn't really seem like you need to build against Maokai. You really need to build more for yourself, and that is a good move to get a cull right there, to just build it for himself, get a little bit of extra gold, maybe help out his team a little later. But speaking of teamwork, I think Solheim's decided, Nope, he's just picking up the scuttle. I was looking at the little mini-map down there. I thought he might be trying to go for the Drake by himself, but he is going to get found out by Slingshot and get pushed back, as Slingshot looks like he wants to try and set up in the bot lane here.
Yeah, headed down to the bottom side. Look at the Ashe picking up the BF sword, so we'll have a damage advantage over the Ezreal as Rapid Fire grab that tier to start to stack that up. So if you go for a blow-for-blow fight in the bottom lane, it should be bar advantage, but we'll see if that actually comes through, because again, those Yuumi heals can start to be a little bit deceptive, and she actually went for the Ancient Tome, so is looking to have a bit more empowered heals rather than focusing on just spamming them out all over and over and over.
Yeah, and since the Yuumi buffs, nerfs rather, that's kind of how you've got to play Yuumi. You've got to be willing to switch a lot more to deliver healing, and you have to be willing to build a little bit more ability power so your heals are a bit more impactful. Now, Rapid Fire on the Ezreal, he's got a pretty low max health compared to a lot of other champions, so that's not really what she's thinking about here, I don't think. She's really looking forward to those team fights, thinking Trundle's going to have a lot of max health, Maokai's going to have a lot of max health. We need some ability power there.
Yep, we'll see if that comes through, as it is still early laning phase. A Mountain Drake to start things off, and as we talked earlier, there was some motion from BARA Esports onto that bottom side, but the Scuttle Crab, grabbed by Solheim, will make it a little bit difficult for them to sneak it away. They're just going to walk right into the Dragon Pit and start it up, saying, hey, we dare you to come fight us. We're just going to grab this Mountain Drake.
Yep, there's that teamwork we were just talking about. They're just going to pick it up uncontested. It's just a Mountain Drake, so it's not too much. It doesn't scare anyone when the Mountain Drake goes over. But if that Mountain Drake turns into a 2-Drake lead, maybe even a Soul Point lead where they can start forcing fights, that's where BARA Esports starts looking a little bit scary, because they were able to pick that up.
Yeah, the Mountain Drake is kind of one of those drakes that needs to scale if you are on Dragon Soul, where you need multiple of them for those stats to really hit hard. But you can look at the poke on to Basket and Knives. Excuse me, this is your part.
Yep, Solheim came in, good pillar there, but Basket was able to get around it with the flash and the heal. Both summoners burned there, though, so that was a really good gank. Solheim just going to back off. Rapid Fire gets to put on as much pressure as he wants right now.
Yeah, okay. Beltherin feeling fancy with a hook forward, but yeah, once you basically shove out this Ashe, Nautilus is not going to bring damage. That's a major thing Nautilus does not bring. He brings health, he brings tank, and he brings CC. But as long as you can weave your spells and damage around the Nautilus, we got to fight here, though.
Solheim's going to find in his own jungle Slingshot. World Champ's right there with those roots. He's going to use the Blast Cone to get away, but Vivavic is going to flash over the wall. He's going to get that kill, and now they could just immediately start the Rift Herald. Great gank there in their own jungle. Vivavic got the kill. They get to start the Rift Herald. Here's Empower. He's going to check up on this, and they're actually going to chase that. Nope. Are they going to chase that?
Well, it's a 2v1.
I think they're deciding not to. Oh, they are
here.
He's going to dash in, and World Champ tries to get him down, and Power's got a bit too much damage on his side there. He's going to find Solheim. Takes Names has come up, and so has Vivavic. We've got a bit of a top-mid scuffle here. Vivavic's taking way too much damage from Takes Names. The Petrify comes down. World Champ's going to dash to him. Vivavic's going to get himself a second kill. The Rift Herald is low. World Champ is just looking at Empower right now. Vivavic is running, so is World Champ, but if he's not careful, he's going to go down here. Wait, no, Vivavic wasn't running. He was just coming around the side. He's going to find Empower and push him off of World Champ. Right, he was Slingshot. He managed to get all the way back up here, and now he's chasing Vivavic into the top lane. Empower is going to get that kill. Shut down Vivavic's little kill spree there. But who is back? Also, it's Solheim. Looks like he's just going to focus on his Krugs. But wow, that was an elongated fight, and it looks like Slingshot now wants to take the Rift Herald off of it.
When they say NA is a clown fiesta, this is what it's all about. I love seeing it. Slingshot even dying and returning after being caught out in the enemy team's jungle. Hops over a wall, flashes to the Blast Cone. Blast Cone's over the wall, forcing out Zizovic to actually flash to try to chase the Sejuani down. And they do get that kill, but a lot of kills traded back. It's 3 for 3 overall, but at the end of the day, the Rift Herald went the way of BARA Esports. And this Gangplank at the top side has been able to pick up a bunch of kills. So will be feeling a lot better for himself up there. He's got that Sheen, and now in a 1v1 with World Champ.
Yep, the roots are coming down. World Champ actually seems to want to make this one stick. He's got the minion wave for the extra damage behind him. He's going to dash forward. He is actually going to get that kill onto End Power. Absolutely great play from World Champ there. He wouldn't have gotten that if he hadn't known how to use his minion wave there. Shows a great understanding of the game.
And all those roots coming through. The poor Gangplank didn't even have a chance.
Speaking of roots, it looks like Solheim wants to go down. The Lost Chapter comes out, but Velthrin is able to get a lot of damage on a rapid fire. He hooks behind them. He's now trapped between three. Velthrin's going really low. Solheim respecting that bottom lane. He's not even going to sling his club around. Rapid fire is going to get that kill.
Yeah, he definitely knocked one out of the park in the fight bottom lane, catching out that Ashe. Keep in mind, the heal and the flash are already down from earlier scuffles, which means the Baskin and Knives immediately had to just leave the fight. Said, there's no chance for me to stay here. I gotta go, which meant...
And wait, Slingshot's actually getting caught out by Solheim in his own jungle. Solheim's going to make him dash over the wall, and he's going to actually steal some of the Krug gold here from Slingshot. Slingshot is going to give a little bit of a passing shot there, but all are going to disengage. Nice little kill in the bot lane, and they got one of the plates for it.
Yep, and some gold swinging back the way of God Squad. They're now about 1,000 gold lead. Shockwave in the mid lane, just shoving Zazovic out so that Takes Names can maybe find a recall in the near future. The action just seems non-stop, which means that you end up with people like this Orianna sitting with 1,200 gold in the mid lane. That's not what you want. You want that gold transferred into items, transferred into damage and actual stats and power that you can have for the constant skirmishing fights, as it seems like once again grouping from BARA around this Drake. It is a Wind Drake this time, but they might try to make a play for Trundle, finish him off first before going for the Drake.
Actually, no, Slingshot's going to walk into the mid lane there, try to get a little bit of a pick, but he's only going to get the entirety of the God Squad collapsing in. End Power a little bit out of position. He's going to get found by World Champ. Here's the vines. Everyone's moving in right now. The Ashe arrow comes down. Solheim's looking really low, and oh no, World Champ's getting caught out. The Petrify comes down along with so much poison. Zazovic's going to be able to find Sejuani there, and Takes Name's going to find World Champ, but the Lost Chapter comes out. Angel Baby tries to get to Solheim, but he goes down too fast, and now Angel Baby will get killed as well. It's a 1v1, and Rapid Fire manages to get himself a triple kill! 4 kills for 5 around the Dragon Pit! What in the world?
That was 9 deaths, a near double ace for both teams. There's a TP in, though, from Gangplank trying to stop Rapid Fire from taking this Drake. He's running straight on in. Keep in mind, you get the extra movement speed with the home guard buffs when you TP in, as he jumped into a ward, but Maokai going to TP as well. The fight continues around the Drake. It seems like God Squad have positioning the lead at the moment because all the members of BAR are still moving out of their base. Both teams may be taking a bit of a breather from this constant fighting inside a very bloody river.
Wait, are we actually just going to see the same fight again? Because both teams look like they still want that Drake.
I will say the big deciding factor, in my opinion, of that last fight was Orianna's ult was down. There was an amazing position in which God Squad had 4 to 5 members grouped tightly at the entrance into Blue Side's jungle and about to jump in. I kept looking for the shockwave out of the Orianna, but it was on cooldown from the solo play on Cassiopeia in the mid lane. Didn't have it back up and available just yet, which meant that they had no major play, and God Squad eventually were able to steamroll over it because no one was actually able to get Rapid Fire down. He was still alive at the end of the fight. The Drake goes the way of BAR, but the fight's going again.
Yep, Solheim was getting in. He was trying to steal, but there's the ultimate from Takes Names. It's going to mean Zazovic's life. Solheim on the back line. Oh no, where's Angelic? He was trying to keep Rapid Fire alive, and now he's going to get picked off. It's gonna be a quadra kill from Takes Names. You thought you could get around me just because my ultimate wasn't up. We will come back with my ultimate and show you what we can do.
That shockwave was available for Takes Names. Finally gets it. Look at the kills going the way of BARA Esports. They've got themselves now a 5-2 and 5 Orianna. That's what you want to see when you're continuing to try to empower this mid laner. Double buffs for just the extra stats, because why not? Grab a bottom lane turret. Get yourself first turret gold as well, because almost all of the skirmishing and fighting have been around that Drake. Keep in mind, they also grabbed the Rift Herald as well. They've already used it, I believe. and they have the opportunity to grab this next Rift Herald up in 40 seconds. So while there's been so much skirmishing going back and forth, a lot of the major objectives have continued to remain in control by BARA Esports.
Yep, and that Herald was actually used in the bot lane to draw Bar away from the Drake, or rather, to draw the God Squad away from the Drake. That's how Bar got such good positioning on it. That's why Solheim wasn't able to find the steal there. We're seeing in the chat, Thief of the Jungle, the perfect prime. Who could it be? Well, this time it wasn't Solheim. He wasn't able to get in there, and now they're setting up around the second Rift Herald. They've got complete control here, Bar does, and this doesn't look like it's going to be much an even game much longer.
Well, there's that Rift Herald. They've started it up. We'll see if God Squad can find a way to even up the standings as you're talking about. They've got that Trundle. May he be the pitcher to bring in that opportune moment for God Squad to strike. It seems like we might just have to let this one go. Wait, he's going to immediately lock down.
And he was trying for the steal again, but he's just going to get caught out. The heals aren't fast enough, and now Angelic Baby's just caught out in the middle of the fight. He's able to dash away to Rapid Fire. World Champ's just in the middle right there. Wait, no! Angelic Baby actually does go down. Vivovic, he's finally gotten to the fight. Rapid Fire's going to find Slingshot, but now he's just got to run. Vivovic's going to go down. That's going to be a triple kill. Rapid Fire going down very quickly here. Quadra kill over the Basket of Knives! What? And an ace! Oh my god, that fight!
You lose one, carry takes names, doesn't matter. Basket of Knives will pick up the carry status and come in afterwards. And the tankiness out of this Sejuani and this Nautilus are so unbelievably hard for God Squad to be able to get into the fight. And look from God Squad, they were feeling desperate around the Rift Herald, watching it drop lower and lower. Solheim starts to step forward like, hey, I can jump in here, I can potentially steal this Rift Herald away. But why are you doing that? You tank a Sejuani ultimate to the face, stunning you up so you immediately go down. Follow that up by the slow zone out of the ultimate from that Sejuani, and you slow down the members of God Squad actually entering the fight. Like a buffet line, they went in one at a time, and BARA Esports says, hey, we're still feeling pretty hungry despite all the kills this game. We'll just take you one at a time. They get the ace this time around, but it's not one member left alive, it's three. They also grab the Rift Herald and now the mid lane turret, so now they can drop Rift top lane, open up the map with all those exterior turrets down, and that means Slingshot's head to the top lane.
Yep, Slingshot's gonna find World Champ there just as Velthrin comes in. He's gonna put down the roots, but Velthrin's gonna hook through them and find World Champ again. The slows and stuns are coming down. The Ash Arrow comes in from behind. World Champ gets stunned right there. He's still trying to run, but he just can't get out. Takes names, gonna find that kill, and now here's Solheim. He was coming in to try and stop, but Basket of Knives is gonna get himself another kill!
Oh my word, that dredge line out of the Nautilus coming out of left field, was not expecting it to bring in the batter as well. Why go for one when you can get a 2-for-1 combo? Feels good. They get the top lane turret. No need to even drop Rift Herald because, hey, you know what? It's totally fine. And actually, now that I'm looking at everyone's inventory, I'm not seeing where the Rift Herald even went. Maybe it was dropped mid lane to grab that turret. Kind of lost sight of it, but that's okay. Doesn't matter. All exterior turrets down for BARA Esports. A 5,000 gold lead, and it has been an insanely bloody game. Nearly 2 kills a minute, but the action has just been nonstop.
Non-stop indeed. We've been seeing nothing but action here, and it's been just amazing. I believe the Rift Herald was used in the mid lane there, but that's not really important because here's the first Infernal Drake of the game coming up in 2-1. It's up now, and God Squad wants it. They've got the positioning already. N-Power's the only one in area to react. Wait, no, I misspoke. Here's Takes Names. He's able to come in very quickly here. Velthrin leading the charge. He is actually
out again.
They're just going to harass Solheim in the pit. The Ash Arrow is going to miss, and the defensive vines come down along with the Lost Chapter. World Champ trying to do as much as he can, but this is a run situation for the God Squad. Solheim, he's very low. Velthrin is as well. He's actually going to get Vizovic. Vizovic's going to find 2. It's gonna find 3. Rapid Fire's actually gonna find that one, but who cares? Slingshot's out in the wild now, and Rapid Fire's actually going to dash over the wall to try and find him. He is going to find him. What is going on in this game? We keep trading these team fights.
So God Squad says, look, we're having to struggle 5v5. Absolute credit to C9 World Champion Solheim getting out alive. When that fight initially began with the Trundle inside the Infernal Drake pit, the Zizovic's Cassiopeia literally was in the base shopping. Rapid Fire just exiting the base into the jungle. So they were not in position to take a 5v5 fight. But because both Solheim and World Champ were able to back away, critically Solheim dodging out the Enchanted Crystal Arrow from the Ashe, it meant that they could reset the battle lines. But there was a problem. The Infernal Drake was started by both teams, which meant that once BARA Esports grouped and were trying to fight 5v5, there was a secret backdoor Infernal Drake behind enemy lines, taking down almost all of Take Name's Oriana's health before the fight even really got halfway through. Then Zizovic finds a Petrify and wipes the rest of the fight. Beautifully positioned from God Squad, good timing to back away, and BARA Esports were just caught between a very angry Drake and a really solid 5-man team from God Squad.
Yep, we'll even see BARA take this little bit of a red buff here. Slingshot goes over the wall. The last chapter comes down defensively. Solheim's in the middle of it all. He can't get away, though. And there's Yuumi. He's stunned out. He can't find anyone to attach to. He's just got to run. World Champ and Rapid Fire. Nope, make that just Rapid Fire. World Champ goes down right there. And Angelic has to get back. Angelic just keeps getting caught out in these fights, and that positioning, I think, is why God Squad keeps losing these team fights. When they win, it's because Angelic Baby's able to get around like he needs to. Rapid Fire dashing in there, trying to find Take's names. They need that pick. Vivavic's now here as well. They're both going to back off of that. I'm not sure that was a well-advised play.
Well, Velthurin wasn't around, and it actually wouldn't have been all that bad if Nautilus stayed in the top side and if N-Power was backing away. Basically, you just have damage dealers versus damage dealers, and the damage dealers from BARA are about half health, but whoop!
Speaking of damage dealers, Vivavic's gonna find a 3-man ult, put down all the poison, and Velthurin just has to stand there. He doesn't have the damage to respond. Rapid Fire is gonna come in now. He's gonna Velthurin! And now they're just chasing down N-Power. He turns around, tries to make it up, but no, Vivavic's going to start off the greatest pick I've ever seen and go straight into the Baron.
Zizovic says, look, you got a tank. That's great. I don't care. My Petrify in my ass, but hits your back. Line 2. Doesn't matter, I'll take them down first, and you're left with just a tank. Unfortunately, Slingshot having to watch as the Baron buff goes the way of God Squad, and where God Squad was at a 5,000 gold lead. This is not minimalistic. This is not a small lead. This was a 5,000 gold lead. They had all the objectives and felt like they were in full control of the game. They threw the fight around Infernal Drake, gave it over to God Squad, and then they end up taking a pretty rough fight, but not respecting the fact that God Squad can continue the chase, and it ended up losing so much more, losing the Baron, losing top lane turret at this point. God Squad is now leading in gold. This is a huge swing in this game.
Yep, and talking about those swings, Zizovic goes back to base and immediately starts trying to build that Rabadon's death cap. I'm going to be very excited to see how much damage he can put out there, because right now, if they win this game, it's all on Zizovic. Zizovic made it possible with that pick.
So how well can this Cassiopeia continue to carry the team? 7, 5, and 10, the lineup. Keep in mind, Rapid Fire, this Ezreal, 12, 2, and 5. He is so hard to catch out with that cleanse, with the arcane shift, with the Yuumi heals as well, that it's almost impossible for players on the side of BARA Esports to actually catch and shut this guy down. They're gonna have to try to do it now in the mid lane as all 5 members of God Squad are grouping, but in those 5v5 fights, it comes down to which mid laner gets off the better ultimate. Both of them have those ultimates available.
Yep, and I was talking about, I think at the beginning of the game, how I expected Rapid Fire to be the real carry of this one. I did not see Zizovic coming out this hard with the Cassiopeia. Rapid Fire's been doing a lot of great damage in the team fights, but Zizovic has just been doing so much more out of the team fights, really becoming the carry. And he's at level 15 now, Zizovic is. It's absolutely an amazing performance.
So nice defense from BAR, holding on into the mid lane turret. A lot of repositioning around this Infernal Drake. It's already been started up by God Squad. The level 15 Zizavik is in there, burning it down like Cassiopeia's can do. Oh, good attempt from Slingshot to flash over the wall and Smite steal it away. Unfortunately, wasn't able to secure it. It's actually Cassiopeia that does.
He tries to steal it away, but he tries to steal it away, he's just not able to. We're going to see them run right back down the mid lane now. One Infernal Drake, that's not a whole big deal, but two? Now I'm starting to feel the pressure, especially with Zizavik, with two Infernal Drakes. I'm terrified of him right now. He's a good 3 levels over most of his opponents. That's a terrible place for BAR Esports to be right now. And this is only the first round. Are they going to get knocked out? They won last week. What's happening here?
Well, they've had a couple of throws. They've had a couple of questionable moments in which they didn't really respect the members of God Squad, fighting without ultimates or pushing in too quickly. Some of these fights, yes, scrappy is certainly fun. Wild and crazy is certainly incredibly entertaining for commentators like us. Maybe catching out Cassiopeia. Petrify's been burned. Yorgo.
Oh, the Petrify is actually going to be burned here defensively. The Trundle Pillar comes up, but there's too much CC. They're actually going to find Zizavik there, and it's going to be Velthrin who gets all that gold. Not exactly ideal, but you just want him dead. You leave him alive too long, that poison will destroy your entire team. We've seen it happen before, and now they're free to move on to the mid lane turret. We're going to see the Lost Chapter come down as well as the Roots. Solheim moving in. Rapid Fire going to get the 1 kill. They're all running now. Velthrin is the target because he is the slowest. Wait, no, he's actually going to get... They're actually not going to kill him. Instead, they're going to phase shift forward. Rapid Fire is going to get himself a kill and then get taken down. And now we're going to see the stopwatch come out, and Takes Names has to run for his life. World Champ's actually going to flash forward there. We're going to see the Yuumi missile follow in. Takes Names as he comes around the corner. It's not going to be enough. World Champ is going to find that kill.
I got so excited for Takes Names. I thought there's no way this Orianna can escape. There was just a moment in which there was the blast cone a few steps away, and I thought there was a possibility. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. And while a great start by BAR Esports, once again, the problem is you burn all of your ultimates onto one member, Zizavik, on the enemy team. Great, you got the shutdown, fantastic, feels good. And now all of your team fight power is gone. And the enemy team, God Squad, can just run you down because all of their ultimates are available. They run straight in and basically just force that fight going through. Basket and Knives did the best that he could on this Ashe to basically just stand there and fire away. You can even see the Executioner's Calling coming out in the inventory. Pairing that with the Blade of the Ruin King to take down these tanks is nice, but unfortunately, it's just so hard to escape the Yuumi, the Trundle, the Maokai, these champions that, while they don't necessarily have stuns, they have a massive amount of roots and slows that are so hard to escape from.
Yeah, and I think that's just an example of really great communication from the God Squad. Because a team can do two things when their main carry bursts down like that. They can back off and be scared, or they can realize, hey, all of their potential is now gone. Everyone move in and destroy them. And that was the right call. And now we're going to see the call come down as the Baron is about to respawn here in 10 seconds. They're going to try and set up for that one.
All right, let's talk about this setup very quickly. I don't think we'll actually get a whole lot of time because these teams love to fight as BAR is pushing down mid lane, but you need to see the side of BAR pick off one of the big carries, otherwise they're just going to be shut down. They might be able to take Solheim. You go.
Speaking of picking off, Solheim rushes straight into the team. I'm not sure what his plan was there, but Rapid Fire comes up behind. Here's the Lost Chapter and the Petrify. So much damage coming down. Rapid Fire doing his job so well. He's going to get himself a double kill. And nope, C9 is actually going to get that last kill. It's going to be an ace and a double kill for Zizavik at the same time. It's now 4-man. They're down so high, but it doesn't matter. The enemy jungler isn't alive. They're just going to move into this Baron, and look at it getting shredded right now.
Look at the ultimates out of BAR Esports. Gangplank's used, Sejuani's used, Orianna's used, Nautilus used. What did they get with all of it? the Trundle. You burn everything on a Trundle who can steal away your tank's stats. I think he stole the Nautiluses in that fight, and you are left with nothing to deal with rapid fire. A 16-3-9 Ezreal. This Ezreal should not be alive at the end of any fight. Never push. Wait for him to show his face. Drop a Nautilus ult on him. Everyone dump your damage onto the Ezreal or the Cassiopeia. You cannot dump everything onto the front line of God Squad. Otherwise, these fights will continue to go the way they're going right now, which is God Squad is just starting to wreck the members of BARA Esports.
Yeah, and thinking about it, I wouldn't be surprised if it was some kind of meta play there. For Solheim to just run out in the middle of the lane, he was chasing down Take's names, he was probably trying to do a bit of damage there, but what he was able to do was get all of the ultimates out, and then once again, they had a choice. Your Trundle's just been burst down. Do you get scared and run, or do you go all in? And they went all in, and it even looked like they might lose it there for a second, but no, Vivovic was able to come in at the right time, the Lost Chapter came in at the right time, and that team fight went so quickly.
So can these fights somehow swing in favor of BARA Esports? Because when they roll so quickly, there's that Nautilus ultimate onto the Ezreal to try to chase him down. They've got the ultimates from the Ashe as well, but he's going to cleanse his way out. Go ahead, Arzakali, I'm sorry.
Yep, the Ashe arrow came down. It was a good one. We saw some defensive vines, but now Slingshot's way too far back. Angelic Baby, he was out for a little bit. They could have got him there, but it's not going to matter. Vivovic's going to get himself a kill off of the Petrify. He didn't even need the poison, and now they're free to move back in. That was a play of desperation from BARA. They overextended far too far ahead. Slingshot was up the river without a paddle, and we saw what happens when you do that. Looks like this one's going to go over to the God Squad. Our victors from last week are not able to defend their Nexus. World Champ going in. Solheim is following it up. Elthrim tries to hook away back into the fountain. He's not able to. Vizovic, so much poison damage! The Nexus is going to fall here, and God Squad's going to take this game!
It was insane from beginning to end. I just want to take a note as we swap to the end game stats. It was a 33-minute game. And look at the number of kills and deaths as I'm doing quick mental math. 59 kills and deaths, nearly 60 deaths in this game in what is effectively a 2 kill per minute game. Slightly less than that, but still insane. But I think as you're looking at the post-game stats, you can really see one of the big factors between these two teams. 66 total assists on Team 1, 92 on Team 2. That is insane. That basically says, hey, how heavily grouped were God Squad when it came to these fights? They participated together as a team so much more. And I think a big factor in a lot of these fights and things for BARA Esports was they had a potential split pushing gangplank. They didn't need to be grouping for all of these fights. They didn't need to say, we're just going to take every single fight that comes our way. They needed to be able to take a breath, take a step back once things started to go sour and say, let's go back to the drawing board. We've got our gangplank to split push in a side lane. We got our 4-man squad that's super safe. We even had the first couple of Drakes, so it's fine if they get a Drake or two. But unfortunately, they got accelerated, they got excited, they just kept jumping into fights, and in those 5v5 fights, God Squad was just playing them better.
Yep, and it's so hard to see them go down. BARA Esports, our winner from last week in the lightweight, we now had God Crew come in and show that maybe they were just the biggest fish in a very small pool. The pool's bigger this week, folks, and there is a bigger fish. God Squad's going to move forward in the winning bracket. I believe BARA does get a second chance here to try and come back, don't they?
Yep. Well, hold on. Bar doesn't get a chance to get back into the leading account spot or like into the top, but all teams are playing 3 games. So they definitely have more games to play out tonight. So we're going to take a quick intermission and be right back for game number 2 after this one. But if the insanity of this game 1 was anything to talk about, we're excited to see what game 2 brings us as well. We'll be right back after this intermission.